Question 271. For this question, refer to the Dress4Win case study. Dress4Win is expected to grow to 10 times its size in 1 year with a corresponding growth in data and traffic that mirrors the existing patterns of usage. The CIO has set the target of migrating production infrastructure to the cloud within the next 6 months. How will you configure the solution to scale for this growth without making major application changes and still maximize the ROI? A. Migrate the web application layer to App Engine, and MySQL to Cloud Data Store, and NAS to Cloud Storage. Deploy RabbitMQ, and deploy Hadoop servers using Deployment Manager. B. Migrate RabbitMQ to Cloud PubSub, Hadoop to BigQuery, and NAS to Compute Engine with persistent disk storage. Deploy Tomcat, and deploy NGINX using Deployment Manager. C. Implement managed instance groups for Tomcat and NGINX. Migrate MySQL to Cloud SQL, RabbitMQ to Cloud PubSub, Hadoop to Cloud Dataproc, and NAS to Compute Engine with persistent disk storage. D. Implement managed instance groups for the Tomcat and NGINX. Migrate MySQL to Cloud SQL, RabbitMQ to Cloud PubSub, Hadoop to Cloud Dataproc, and NAS to Cloud Storage. The correct answer is D. Implement managed instance groups for the Tomcat and NGINX. Migrate MySQL to Cloud SQL, RabbitMQ to Cloud PubSub, Hadoop to Cloud Dataproc, and NAS to Cloud Storage. Explanation. Dress4Win is planning to scale 10 times in 1 year and wants a cloud-native solution with minimal application changes and maximum ROI. The best solution must times scale automatically to handle growing traffic. Times minimize operational costs by using managed services. Times avoid major application changes. The best solution is use managed instance groups, MIGs, for Tomcat and NGINX, allowing automatic scaling and failover. Migrate MySQL to Cloud SQL, a fully managed relational database. This minimizes management overhead and scales automatically. Migrate RabbitMQ to Cloud PubSub, which handles message queues natively and scales without infrastructure management. Migrate Hadoop to Cloud Dataproc, providing a managed Hadoop Spark environment. Move NAS to Cloud Storage, which offers infinite scalability and low-cost storage without infrastructure management. This approach maximizes ROI by reducing operational costs, minimizing infrastructure management, and supporting rapid growth. Why other options are incorrect? Option A is incorrect because App Engine and Cloud Data Store require major application changes, which the CIO did not approve. Hadoop on Deployment Manager increases management overhead. Option B is incorrect because deploying NAS on Compute Engine increases operational overhead. Also, Hadoop should be migrated to Cloud Dataproc for scalability. Option C is incorrect because deploying NAS on Compute Engine with persistent disk still requires infrastructure management and limits scalability. Cloud storage is a better alternative. Question 272. For this question, refer to the Dress4Win case study. Considering the given business requirements, how would you automate the deployment of web and transactional data layers? A. Deploy NGINX and Tomcat using Cloud Deployment Manager to Compute Engine. Deploy a Cloud SQL server to replace MySQL. Deploy Jenkins using Cloud Deployment Manager. B. Deploy NGINX and Tomcat using Cloud Launcher. Deploy a MySQL server using Cloud Launcher. Deploy Jenkins to Compute Engine using Cloud Deployment Manager scripts. C. Migrate NGINX and Tomcat to App Engine. Deploy a Cloud Data Store server to replace the MySQL server in a high-availability configuration. Deploy Jenkins to Compute Engine using Cloud Launcher. D. Migrate NGINX and Tomcat to App Engine. Deploy a MySQL server using Cloud Launcher. Deploy Jenkins to Compute Engine using Cloud Launcher. The correct answer is A. Deploy NGINX and Tomcat using Cloud Deployment Manager to Compute Engine. Deploy a Cloud SQL server to replace MySQL. Deploy Jenkins using Cloud Deployment Manager. Explanation. The goal is to automate the deployment of web and transactional layers without significant changes to the application. The best solution is 1. Use Cloud Deployment Manager to deploy Nginx and Tomcat on Compute Engine. This provides infrastructure as code, IAC, for repeatable and automated deployments. 2. Replace MySQL with Cloud SQL, ensuring high availability and minimizing database management. 3. Deploy Jenkins on Compute Engine using Deployment Manager for automated CI/CD pipeline setup. This solution meets Dress4Win's business requirements by enabling automated deployments while minimizing infrastructure management. Why other options are incorrect? Option B is incorrect because Cloud Launcher is not ideal for large-scale automated deployments. It is better for small, one-time setups. Option C is incorrect because migrating to App Engine requires significant application code changes, which the CIO wants to avoid. Option D is incorrect because using Cloud Launcher for Nginx and Tomcat reduces infrastructure control and is not suitable for a rapidly growing application. Question 273. For this question, refer to the Dress4Win case study. Which of the compute services should be migrated as is and would still be an optimized architecture for performance in the cloud? A. Web applications deployed using App Engine standard environment. B. RabbitMQ deployed using an unmanaged instance group. C. Hadoop Spark deployed using Cloud Dataproc Regional in high availability mode. D. Jenkins, monitoring, Bastion hosts, security scanners services deployed on custom machine types. The correct answer is C. Hadoop Spark deployed using Cloud Dataproc Regional in high availability mode. Explanation. The question asks which compute service can be migrated as is without major changes and still provide optimized performance in the cloud. 1. Hadoop Spark is a data processing framework that can be directly migrated to Cloud Dataproc without major changes. 2. Cloud Dataproc is a managed service for Hadoop Spark, ensuring high availability, scalability, and low operational overhead. 3. Dataproc Regional in high availability mode will ensure minimum downtime and scalability. 4. It aligns perfectly with Google Cloud's best practices without major application changes. Why other options are incorrect? Option A is incorrect because deploying web applications on App Engine requires significant code changes and is not a direct, as is, migration. Option B is incorrect because deploying RabbitMQ in an unmanaged instance group is inefficient in the cloud. Migrating it to Cloud Pub Sub is the better approach. Option D is incorrect because deploying Jenkins, monitoring, Bastion hosts. Question 274. For this question, refer to the Dress4Win case study. To be legally compliant during an audit, Dress4Win must be able to give insights in all administrative actions that modify the configuration or metadata of resources on Google Cloud. What should you do? A. Use Stackdriver Trace to create a trace list analysis. B. Use Stackdriver Monitoring to create a dashboard on the project's activity. C. Enable Cloud Identity-Aware Proxy in all projects, and add the group of administrators as a member. D. Use the activity page in the GCP console and Stackdriver logging to provide the required insight. The correct answer is D. Use the activity page in the GCP console and Stackdriver logging to provide the required insight. Explanation. To ensure legal compliance during an audit, Dress4Win needs to track and review all administrative actions modifying configurations or metadata. The activity page in the GCP console provides a history of all resource changes, including who made the change and when it occurred. Stackdriver logging, now Cloud Logging, captures and retains detailed logs of administrative actions, ensuring full visibility for audits. Why other options are incorrect? Option A is incorrect because Stackdriver Trace is used for application performance monitoring, not for tracking administrative changes. Option B is incorrect because Stackdriver Monitoring, now Cloud Monitoring, is for monitoring system metrics like CPU, memory, and network usage but does not provide detailed logs of administrative actions. Option C is incorrect because Cloud Identity-Aware Proxy, IAP, controls access to applications, but it does not track changes to configurations or metadata for auditing purposes. Question 275. For this question, refer to the Dress4Win case study. You are responsible for the security of data stored in cloud storage for your company, Dress for Win. You have already created a set of Google groups and assigned the appropriate users to those groups. You should use Google best practices and implement the simplest design to meet the requirements. Considering Dress for Win's business and technical requirements, what should you do? A. Assign custom IAM roles to the Google groups you created in order to enforce security requirements. Encrypt data with a customer-supplied encryption key when storing files in cloud storage. B. Assign custom IAM roles to the Google groups you created in order to enforce security requirements. Enable default storage encryption before storing files in cloud storage. C. Assign predefined IAM roles to the Google groups you created in order to enforce security requirements. Utilize Google's default encryption at rest when storing files in cloud storage. D. Assign predefined IAM roles to the Google groups you created in order to enforce security requirements. Ensure that the default cloud KMS key is set before storing files in cloud storage. The correct answer is C. Assign predefined IAM roles to the Google groups you created in order to enforce security requirements. Utilize Google's default encryption at rest when storing files in cloud storage. Explanation. Google Cloud Storage encrypts data at rest by default using Google-managed encryption keys, ensuring security without additional complexity. The simplest and most Google-recommended way to manage access control is by assigning predefined IAM roles to Google groups. This enforces security without requiring complex custom role management, aligning with best practices. Why other options are incorrect? Option A is incorrect because custom IAM roles add unnecessary complexity when predefined roles already provide sufficient security. Additionally, customer-supplied encryption keys, CSEK, require manual key management, increasing operational overhead. Option B is incorrect because default storage encryption is always enabled in Google Cloud Storage, so enabling it manually does not add any additional benefit. Option D is incorrect because using a default cloud KMS key is unnecessary unless Dress for Win has specific compliance requirements for customer-managed encryption keys, CMEK. Google's built-in encryption already meets industry standards. Question 276. For this question, refer to the Dress for Win case study. You want to ensure that your on-premises architecture meets business requirements before you migrate your solution. What change in the on-premises architecture should you make? A. Replace RabbitMQ with Google PubSub. B. Downgrade MySQL to version 5.7, which is supported by Cloud SQL for MySQL. C. Resize compute resources to match predefined compute engine machine types. D. Containerize the microservices and host them in Google Kubernetes Engine. The correct answer is B. Downgrade MySQL to version 5.7, which is supported by Cloud SQL for MySQL. Explanation. In the Dress for Win case study, the company plans to migrate its existing infrastructure to Google Cloud while ensuring minimal disruption. One of the critical components is MySQL, which currently runs on their on-premise infrastructure. Google Cloud SQL supports MySQL version 5.7 as a managed database service. If Dress for Win's current MySQL version is higher than version 5.7, it may cause compatibility issues during migration. Therefore, the best approach is to 1. Downgrade MySQL to version 5.7, the latest supported version in Cloud SQL. 2. This ensures a smooth migration without the need for major architectural changes. 3. It also meets the business requirement of quick migration with minimal downtime. Why other options are incorrect? Option A. Replace RabbitMQ with Google PubSub. Incorrect because the migration has not started yet. Changing the messaging service on-premises would introduce unnecessary complexity before migration. Dress for Win can perform the RabbitMQ migration to PubSub after they are on the cloud. Option C. Resize compute resources to match predefined compute engine machine types. Incorrect because the compute resources can be resized after migration using compute engine machine types. Changing the compute resources on-premises is unnecessary and does not address the migration challenges. Option D. containerize the microservices and host them in Google Kubernetes engine. Incorrect, because the goal is to migrate the existing infrastructure quickly, not re-architect the solution. Containerizing microservices adds complexity and delays migration. The priority is to migrate as is first. Question 277. Mount Kirk Games wants you to design their new testing strategy. How should the test coverage differ from their existing backends on the other platforms? A. Tests should scale well beyond the prior approaches. B. Unit tests are no longer required, only end-to-end tests. C. Tests should be applied after the release is in the production environment. D. Tests should include directly testing the Google Cloud Platform, GCP, infrastructure. The correct answer is A. Tests should scale well beyond the prior approaches. Explanation. Mount Kirk Games is migrating their gaming infrastructure to the cloud, aiming for scalability and high availability. The new testing strategy should 1. Simulate high traffic load, far beyond the current traffic, since Google Cloud can scale almost infinitely. 2. Test how the infrastructure behaves under extreme scaling conditions, such as game launches. 3. Ensure that their cloud architecture supports rapid scaling without downtime. Since cloud infrastructure can scale automatically based on demand, the tests must also mimic large-scale events, like game launches. This is a core advantage of cloud platforms. Why other options are incorrect? Option B. Unit tests are no longer required, only end-to-end tests. Incorrect, because unit tests are always necessary to test the functionality of individual components. End-to-end tests are complementary but cannot replace unit tests. Option C. Tests should be applied after the release is in the production environment. Incorrect, because testing in production increases the risk of downtime or failures. Testing should always be done in staging environments before production. Option D. Tests should include directly testing the Google Cloud Platform, GCP, infrastructure. Incorrect, because testing infrastructure itself, like Google Cloud Services, is unnecessary. Google Cloud infrastructure is managed and tested by Google. Mount Kirk Games should test application performance, not infrastructure reliability. Question 278. For this question, refer to the Mount Kirk Games case study. You need to analyze and define the technical architecture for the database workloads for your company, Mount Kirk Games. Considering the business and technical requirements, what should you do? A. Use Cloud SQL for time series data, and use Cloud Bigtable for historical data queries. B. Use Cloud SQL to replace MySQL, and use Cloud Spanner for historical data queries. C. Use Cloud Bigtable to replace MySQL, and use BigQuery for historical data queries. D. Use Cloud Bigtable for time series data, use Cloud Spanner for transactional data, and use BigQuery for historical data queries. The correct answer is D. Use Cloud Bigtable for time series data, use Cloud Spanner for transactional data, and use BigQuery for historical data queries. Explanation. Mount Kirk Games handles massive data volumes across multiple data types. 1. Time series data from game logs and real-time events, like player scores, session duration. 2. Transactional data for managing user profiles, in-app purchases, etc. 3. Historical data for analyzing long-term game performance. The ideal architecture is 1. Cloud Bigtable for time series data. Handles millions of writes per second. Ideal for log data, game events, and real-time telemetry. 2. Cloud Spanner for transactional data. Provides strong consistency and global scalability. Handles user transactions, game progress, and purchase history. 3. BigQuery for historical data queries. Handles large-scale analytics for historical data. Allows efficient data analysis across large datasets. Why other options are incorrect? Option A. Use Cloud SQL for time series data, and use Cloud Bigtable for historical data queries. Incorrect, because Cloud SQL cannot handle the massive scale of time series data. Cloud Bigtable is purpose-built for time series data. Option B. Use Cloud SQL to replace MySQL, and use Cloud Spanner for historical data queries. Incorrect because Cloud Spanner is not designed for historical data queries. BigQuery is better suited for historical data analysis. Option C, use Cloud Bigtable to replace MySQL, and use BigQuery for historical data queries. Incorrect because Cloud Bigtable is not suitable for transactional data. Cloud Spanner is the correct choice for handling user profiles, purchases, and transactions.